when we say I see auras, it conjures up some very vivid imagery for a lot of people. When someone thinks of perceiving an aura, they often think of the field of energy, colors coming off of it, and kind of seeing that rainbow spectrum emanating outwards from the human body. And I would like to illustrate that there's more of a dynamism, more of a creativity and a freedom to the human aura than simply this rainbow spectrum emanation that most people describe when you read books about it and stuff. So in the way that we will be discussing the aura, it is the field of energy that surrounds, penetrates, and connects and binds the human being together. So, it's very much like the Jedi's description of the Force. If you watch the movie A New Hope, right? It's your personal force. And your personal aura is a part of a greater aura that surrounds and penetrates and connects together all the auras of all living things. And this is what the Jedi call the living force. So when you step into a forest and you feel all this life energy and you feel this positivity, you feel relieved, this health and vitality of the forest is healing you, that is the living force. It is the energy fields, the auras of all these living beings coming together as a kind of river, as a kind of cloud, as a kind of wind, as a kind of wave of water. And you're a part of that. So we are discussing and defining the aura, describing it as being the sum total of all spectrums of being, which is to say that the aura is the emotional body, it's the mental body, it is the imagination body, right? It's the rainbow spectrum of color. It is, like when people say like someone's aura is dark because they're sad, or someone's aura is really luminous and bright because they're happy, right? The reason why these colors and the luminosity of the aura is affected is because the emotional body is a part of that. The reason why you can use your mental body to shift the aura, to change it, mold it, shape it, is because the mental body is a part of that. Right? So the aura is our ocean of energy, our personal ocean of energy. And the amount of freedom that you have to interact with your aura is infinite, because the aura is shaped through imagination. Some time ago, I was speaking to a friend of mine who practices, and he was describing some of his experiments with the aura, and we were trading notes and sharing stories and stuff. And he told me about the moment that he realized that human beings don't really look at faces to really perceive the nature of someone, that we really look at the aura first. We feel the aura first of a person, right? And that people feel auras far more predominantly than they tend to think, but it's often a subconscious process. And it's so interesting how it's both a subconscious process and one that's in the forefront simultaneously, but it's true. So he was saying that, at work, he would kind of go under the radar, a lot of time. People didn't tend to pay him very much attention or anything. And then he started having this practice where he would imagine himself dressed in samurai garb. Okay. And if you know anything about samurai ritual, they would get into these very deep, kind of like meditative, focused warrior states, like a type of meditation. And then they would be dressed, their armor would be put on them, and they would, be very sharpening their mind and spirit, preparing for battle, right? And he would do this before he went into work. He would imagine each piece of armor being placed on him. He would put himself into this warrior mentality, and that shaped and sharpened his aura, colored it. Right? So the funny thing is that as he goes into work, people are reacting to him differently. Like, they double take. They respond to him with more respect. He'll notice that they don't just breeze past him anymore. It's almost like they have to dwell on him in conversation. Like, let me respond appropriately to this individual, right? So there's this subtle shift that gradually grew. And then at some point he was walking into his job and someone said, "Man, you look like a samurai, dude. You're so badass." And hearing them say and describe the exact thing that he had been imagining himself as was that sort of solidification of, this is a real thing. This is something that we all experience. That story really moved me, and it is something that we all experience far more readily than people tend to think and realize. If you're driving your car and all of a sudden you just feel a sort of pressure, and you look and someone's looking straight at you, right? Or you're in a restaurant and then you just gotta look behind you, and then all of a sudden you realize that someone's staring straight at you. That's a very simple effect of the aura. Someone's attention, because attention at tension is a pressure of the aura that goes outwards. And you can feel it. When you open your third eye and you are able to perceive the quantum fluctuations of things. One of the things that blew my mind about attention is that I would stare at the wall and the wall would ripple like the surface of water. And wherever I focused my attention, that rippling would emanate from that spot. And I realized there is a tangible force to focus. Like it's a physical force that you can touch, right? So, when people have those reactions, they're feeling that pressure on their aura. And when you really grasp the nature of this principle, this is why affirmations and self-perception is so important. And one of the things, when I give readings, one of the things that I often tell people is that the way that you perceive yourself is a spell that you cast on yourself every single day. And so an exercise that you can practice is that every morning when you wake up and every night before you go to sleep, look in the mirror. Remove all distractions from the mind. There's no one else in the universe but you in this reflection, in this moment. And note how you perceive yourself, your instinctual reactions, right? And this is a great way to gauge where your vibration is. So you can look at yourself in the mirror, just look yourself in the eyes. Honestly, you have to be honest with yourself with this exercise. And just say, I love myself. Yeah. I love you. And just feel your reaction to that. If you feel an irk, or if you feel like some type of irk, you're like, okay, now I know how I really feel about loving myself, right? See? So if you look in the mirror, you say, I love you, really feel that love. Really begin to cultivate that, and other people will begin to feel that as well, because that's what will be living in your aura. And so much of what people perceive us as and respond to us as is the vibrational signature of how we feel about ourselves. And this is why the bully knows exactly who to pick on in the playground, because he looks for the person whose aura is most depressed, whose aura is most introverted, who most feels like they're getting picked on already. The bully goes exactly to that person every time, the one who's insecure. This is why, the same reason why you have someone who works really hard in the workplace, but they're insecure, and you have the one person who's very, Leo-like and extroverted, and everybody loves them, but they're not really that good at their job, and that person gets promoted because of the aura. You see, because of the way that they make people feel. This is so important to all human communication and social interaction. So, this gauging process in the mirror works with any facet of your life. You can look at yourself in the mirror and say, I am successful. Right? I am wealthy. I am beautiful. All these things. And you can feel your honest feeling in your heart chakra as you react. And you'll know exactly what your vibrational signature is. And if you know that, you know what you're attracting and how to change it. And the way that you change it is, well, there are multiple ways. Really, any way that you imagine yourself through it can work. You can imagine yourself transforming into the most beautiful, ideal version of yourself, and then just hold that, believe it, and then you become it, right? Another way of doing it is like, if you have this idea of success in your mind and you have a role model. Now, it's very important when you pick a role model that you choose very wisely, because when you do this, you match your vibrational frequency to the role model, right? So, choose very wisely, and then you have this image of success, and you think like, imagine that person or how they make you feel inspired, and feel that, because that's an energy. The inspiration feeling is like an actual tangible force of energy that builds within you, and you keep cultivating it every day. Stoke it in the mirror, listen to your favorite music, whatever it is. You build this energy within yourself, and it shapes your aura. So really, when we talk about the aura, this level of it, this social perceptual level of it, is really, really important, because it is like our true face. Because that energy body is the blueprint which shapes this physical body. So this is why, like, when someone has a schizophrenic episode and they start seeing people with like fiery heads, or like with creepy demons on them, or as beautiful angels and stuff, they're seeing their auras very directly. And because they have no frame of reference to say, oh, this is a reality that fits into this reality in this way, and I know how to describe the relationship and all of that, a lot of people lose their minds. Back in our ancestral times, there was a description for what this was. So, oh, this person is having a shamanic experience. This person is having a spiritual vision, right? We'll take this person and train them as a shaman. And so there are procedures. You could go to the elders. You could have them interpret what you were understanding. The elder would be a shaman who's trained his whole life to perceive these things. He knows how to understand the description of reality in the energetic world, right? So we're getting back to that through this process of dialogue and understanding it here and now. And that's another thing that's kind of shocking when you realize the nature of what all of this is that in this dimension, you can't really hide anything in the same way that you can when around people who don't have their third eyes open. And I don't want to say you can't hide anything, because there are still ways, but generally speaking, things are much more transparent. And this is why, like, when someone comes in, they got bad energy, it's like, oh, this person's got a black cloud over their head or something like that. Like, you can actually start to see this stuff directly. And you're like, oh, like, this person's manipulative and abusive. Oh, this person is really caring and loving and giving, et cetera, et cetera. You get to feel and see, oh, this shape means this person is this way, and this color means this person is this way. And you have your own interpretation system that you cultivate. And this is really, really important, is that when you're cultivating your third eye, as well as your aura, you've got to do it with your own imagination, with your own understanding. It's a creative, dynamic process. You don't want to like keep going to pre-written descriptions of things, because then you're operating from a place of expectation rather than a place of experience. So you cultivate your abilities, and you're like, oh, the color green, I see it in this person, this person, this person, and this spot, and this spot, and this spot, and you form patterns and associations over time through use, and you gain an understanding through experience, and that's the understanding that you can rely on. Octopi communicate by the colors of their skin. So when an octopi is afraid, or when an octopus is afraid, actually, the plural of octopus is octopuses, which doesn't sound right at all, but it's because of the etymological root of the language. And I always want to say octopi, but it's technically octopuses, which feels so weird. But anyway, when, when an octopus is scared, like it'll turn white. And any color that you see, except for when it's camouflaging, but when you see two octopuses together, they communicate through color. And so Terence McKenna talks about this quite a bit in his work, and how um, this is a form of communication where there's no deception, uh, because what you feel and think and are saying are the same thing, and it is literally, you're wearing it on your sleeve, so to speak, on your tentacle. So the aura is exactly like this. Um, exactly like this. When you start to feel love, you'll get pinks and greens and things like that. If you start to feel, arousal and attraction, you'll start to get reds and oranges. Um, and you'll notice the different spectrums of red, because it can mean arousal or it can mean someone's upset. And like, we are just these octopuses that have these colors, and they mean these certain things. And it's universal in the same way that micro expressions are universal. When someone uh, is afraid, their face reacts in a certain way. Their eyebrows will lift and they're drawn together. And when someone's sad, someone's happy, right? We have these universal expressions. We have universal colors of the aura and stuff like that as well. But see, it still gets even more interesting than that, because it's not just that someone's aura turns red when they get upset, right? There's so many different kinds of upset. So like someone's aura might be red but spiky, Someone might be red but like have a kind of Super Saiyan looking aura about it. Some people might be red and it's just like sludgy and just I was just like, oh, it's just no, it's just don't like that one, right? So like as you develop your senses, such a rich, profound amount of meaning comes out of the world that it's very much like, I was blind and now I see, because that's literally what it is. You open up this other eye, and all of a sudden, this whole world of color and shapes and movements emerges for you that just gives you such a wealth of information about yourself and others. This is just some basics about the aura. We're going to go into it even more in the future, talking about how to cultivate your perception of it, and how to fill it with energy and make it stronger, how to actually intentionally shape it. There's so many aspects and dynamics involved in this. Um, learning to interact with the aura is very much like becoming a starship pilot. Because you also enter into other dimensions later on, and stuff like that too. So you are learning how to pilot your starcraft, and it is one of the most fulfilling experiences in all of existence, in my opinion. So a beautiful topic. I'm so very much looking forward to discussing it more with you. And may the force be with you.